When we combine student choice and student voice, we now promote learner agency. And when we promote learner agency, we are giving the students responsibility over their choices. We are asking them to be reflective, to set their goals, and to adjust how they are learning. Kasi pinili mo yan eh. That's your choice. Kailangan panindigan mo at kailangan mo maging responsible. Right? So in short also, there is what we call as ownership of learning as well. When we let our students have student choice and student voice, we're promoting learner agency, there is a more powerful ownership of learning. One thing that I want to emphasize also is design for feedback. I'm not going to talk about a lot about feedback because that will come out in the other episode on assessment. But students, whether they are online or on-site, should receive feedback on their learning. This feedback of learning can come from the teacher, peers, or even through digital learning platforms. The last one is design for equity. Design for equity. This is the last tip that I want to share. When we say design for equity, we mean that students, regardless of where they are, should acquire, develop, and master the same set of skills. Dapat hindi reason, tapos hindi po, sir, naka-onsite kasi sila, kaya mas natututukan namin sila. Actually, that is already admitting that we are giving them undue advantage. Right? Regardless of where the students are, whether they are online, whether they are on-site, we must be able to ensure that because we plan the learning experiences better, we are accommodating them in a much better way, then all of our students should be able to acquire, develop, and master the same sets of skills. That is very, very important. Hindi pwedeng mas lamang yung naka-on-site students. Kung ako yung parent, sasabihin ko sa school ninyo, ang unfair naman. 'Di ba? Bakit mas natututukan ang on-site students versus online students? Pareho lang ng mga kami ng binabayad. We don't want the discussion to go to that extreme part. So we should be able to ensure equity. That means teachers, you have to be very, very mindful in the way you design your lesson plan. Which means then that, is it okay to differentiate instruction? Yes, it is possible and all right to have a different learning experience for online and on-site students. It is possible also through technology that they have the same learning experiences. The bottom line, whether they have the same learning experiences or different learning experiences, there should be no undue advantage over one group than the other. That's the bottom line here. Okay, so what does this mean there? Hybrid or high-flex learning will be very challenging because we're marrying two learning modalities and we're catering to two sets or cohorts of students in different learning spaces. That's where our creativity and effort as a teacher rest. So ang question really is, how do we do that? I have some practical tips. Number one, make sure that you orient your students to the expectation of a hybrid high-flex learning environment. Dapat meron kayong orientation. Your rules and policies should be clear to your students. Have a low-stakes dry run of hybrid learning in the first days. Do not assume that everyone will be transitioning well. Test your infrastructure. Test a sample learning experience that is low stakes. What if your first lesson is actually not a high-stake lesson? Maybe just a review of the previous year, just to make sure that that your students know how to behave, how to interact, how to engage in a hybrid or high-flex learning environment. Give time for everyone to transition. Sustain positive reinforcement techniques. Kung meron kayong pa-sticker noon sa mga bata ninyo, sa mga students ninyo, may sticker kayo, may reward kayo, may certificate, that no one is stopping you from doing that in a hybrid or high-flex learning. Right? Why don't stop from rewarding good behavior? Don't stop from calling out unnecessary behavior. Again, where do all of this rest? It's on the ability of the teacher to manage the classroom and reinforce positive behavior. What happens if we don't have a good internet connection? then set up protocols. You need to tell your students what they're going to do, especially the online students. If teacher, because the internet in the school is not working well, you need to have a protocol for your online students. What should they be doing? Is there any alternative learning experience that they can do at home when they do not have access to the materials because they don't have internet connection also? What are your guidelines, rules, and policies? Because you now allow device ownership in school. That means students can bring their own devices so that they can access your LMS in school. Kasi ang pangit naman, di ba? Parang during remote learning, nag-LMS kayo, nag-online platform kayo. Tapos nung face-to-face na, yung mga on-site, walang access sa LMS nila. Why? Parang backwards ata. Parang bumabalik tayo pre-pandemic where there is no presence of technology in the classroom. Again, we already asked the parents to invest on learning devices. So we must maximize them. We must maximize them really in the classroom. Okay? But because we are maximizing them, set up guidelines, rules, and policies for device ownership in the classroom. We are not starting from scratch. I've been telling this all the time. We have to use our best practices in designing face-to-face learning experiences and online remote learning to come up with a more contextualized approach to designing and implementing hybrid learning experiences. What does that mean? If we have our own best features, best practices in face-to-face learning and online remote learning, no one is stopping you. No one's stopping you from using them. Please, we are actually asking you to use them because you now have experience, good experience with them. Okay? In the end, our goal, like what I've said, is seamless integration of online and face-to-face activities. But you know what? In the bigger scheme of things, my goal really, my dream for every school is, hybrid learning is allowing us to introduce technology inside the classroom. Our goal is actually to build a blended learning setup in the classroom. I'm going to explain this because I want to nuance this. Blended learning, what I'm saying in blended learning means the use of digital technology to support face-to-face learning in the classroom. So pag 100% na ang face-to-face instruction, sana hindi natin bitawan ang technology because technology will always be there. Blended learning here is an instructional approach where digital technology is present in face-to-face learning. This is very different from blended learning modality of DepEd. Kasi ang DepEd's blended learning modality right now means mixed modality to deliver learning, especially if students are not in distance learning. So again, I'm differentiating this. My vision actually as a teacher, as a school leader, as a tech advocate is we transition from hybrid learning to blended learning, meaning in face-to-face classroom, technology is there. Even before the pandemic, a lot of innovative schools have been allowing their students to bring their own devices in the classroom. Kaya nung nagka-pandemic, they were one step ahead of other schools because they have for the longest time invested on good technology, trained their teachers, professional development of teachers to design better learning experiences with technology. Now, there is no pressure for everyone to do that because a lot of the innovative schools actually have to undergo a lot of years their success to become innovative, technology enriched face-to-face learning, their classrooms did not happen overnight. It took them years to perfect them, to become the best version of the blended learning. So again, just clarifying, when I say blended learning, it's the instructional approach that integrates digital technology through the use of personal learning devices in face-to-face classroom.